Welcome back to a special edition of the First of the Worst podcast. I'm Brendan Murphy.
I'm Steve Arendas.
I am so excited I almost forgot my name. That's where we're at on this. I think it's a special time of the year for sports fans.
I mean, it's like the best. Is it the best sports weekend of the year?
Yeah, I would say so. It also requires, you don't really have to pay attention to college basketball for the entire year, and it's still fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in case you didn't know, this is now our second annual NCAA tournament.
What are we calling it?
I don't know.
Brackets got bustier.
We just went through a lot of different puns on movie slogans.
Yeah. So we're excited. Although I told Steve a few weeks ago that I haven't been following college basketball as much this year. I kind of took a red shirt year on college hoops.
So I was gonna say, in most years, I would venture to guess you probably watch like 4 times as much college basketball as me. Would you say that's a normal?
I watch a lot. I watch basically. Not like I'll sit down and watch a game for 2 straight hours, but I'm flipping to college basketball most years every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night.
Yeah, you watch college basketball like I watch NBA basketball during most of the season. But I think we're closer this year. I weirdly have watched more than normal.
Because you've watched less NBA. So I've watched almost every Bulls game except the last week I took.
Because I don't get Bulls games. Week. Exactly. I don't get Bulls games now that I live in Wisconsin. And the other thing is, though, I'll say this now. I have a blind spot, and that's East Coast college basketball. Which is a huge blind spot because those games are played like when I'm feeding kids and putting them to sleep and stuff. So you want to know about Pac-12 and Big 12 teams? I'm your man. I couldn't know anything that's going on in the Big East or ACC.
I don't know a goddamn thing about the Pac-12, and no one knows anything about the Big East because it's on Fox Sports. Basically, since those channels don't have good ESPN contracts, they're like the great enigma to me. It's like when I was watching WWF and people were like, yeah, WCW's okay. I was like, nah, that's stupid.
Is it the Big 12 on Fox Sports too?
For football, they have definitely – Kansas basically has like a year-long ESPN contract. I mean, they're on every single week. They're on twice a week on ESPN.
Yeah, they get like preferential treatment. It's like how the Big Ten Network is not ESPN, but then there'll be like bigger games on ESPN unless it's the Illinois games where they lose by 40. And those get to go to ESPN.
Well, yeah, and then the Sunday Big Ten game is on CBS. For some reason, they still have the tournament and 1 game a week. Which is supposed to probably be the biggest game of the week, but oftentimes it's a dog.
Because they have to schedule it. There's no flex scheduling or something like that.
Which is fair. They are purported amateurs, so
yeah, that is fair. All right, so what we're gonna do. Since the last time we did this, it was kind of just a clusterfuck, and this probably will be too, but in a better way. We're gonna both do a couple quick lists at the start it up, and then we have a list of 10 questions that we're both going to attempt to answer very poorly, most likely. So Brendan's gonna start it off with his list of 10. Which Brendan, go for it.
My list of 10 is the 10 whitest teams in the field.
This is great. Did you look at team composites? Because that'd be a great way to research this.
So I did do some roster shots, looking at the team photo. Yeah. I started counting the number of white guys versus the number of black guys, and I just didn't feel right about that. So then I just kind of looked at it and was like, okay, that looks pretty white. And then but who's their best player?
And if your best player is white, does that give you more weight in terms of being a white team?
Way more.
I like that. It's like white minutes played.
Yeah.
Usage rate of whites. I'm going to call them whites. Okay.
Oh, yeah. You could call them whites. That is totally allowed. All right. So my number 10 on this list is not they're actually one of the fastest teams in the tournament. I'm using pace as a big metric for this. Mostly because I didn't have a ton of time to do research, and I do enjoy that anyway. And their best player is definitely a hard-nosed brother in Roosevelt Jones. But they do have a guy who only shoots 3-pointers.
He literally actually, right?
50% of his shots, maybe more, are threes. And he plays a lot of minutes. I think his name is Kellen Dunham. So I put Butler number 10. Also, they're just a greatest hits of white teams. They went to the Final Four with their 3 best players being white guys.
Was Shelvin Mack not on that team?
Yeah. Okay. So he probably was better than the late Andrew Smith. Actually,
I mean, he's still in the NBA. He's still.
So is Hayward. I mean, that was a pretty good team.
Yeah, Hayward's the second best white American guy in the NBA. Off the top of my head, that could be totally wrong. Maybe the best. He might be the best. Kevin Love, but he might be better than Kevin Love at this point. I don't even know.
Remember when we were going back and forth about would you max out Hayward? The answer with a max, would you max out a guy is just always yes.
Yeah.
If it's not your money, the answer is yes.
Always. It's so great spending other people's money. All right. Who's the number 9 whitest team in the tournament?
Hawaii.
Oh, really?
It's actually a fairly diverse team. But first of all, Hawaii to me is like a white person refuge. So many golf courses.
Yeah, so I know nothing about that team, obviously, because they play when I'm well asleep.
Well, yeah. Then the other thing about this team is they have 2 guys named Stefan. One is named Jankovic and one is named Janovic.
Okay, so this team does not have the makeup. So I picture Hawaii basketball team, and it's like a Hawaii football team full of like Pacific Islanders.
There were a couple Polynesian looking dudes, but
okay,
no, definitely. And also their best player is Stefan Jankovic, who transferred from Missouri. So you always follow your ex-girlfriends in that way, you know.
It's your closest thing to a team in the tournament.
Yeah. So, I'm super pissed he left. Obviously, they could have used him on a 9-23 team.
It wouldn't have helped that much.
No, it wouldn't have. Next up is South Dakota State. I feel like geography plays a factor, though their best player is a white guy, or co-best player is a white guy.
Okay, that's nice.
I forget his name. He's a freshman. He's a load, like a 6'10" guy who is like 15-8. And now I really do feel like I'm doing national sports guy college basketball analysis where you just say like, oh, they have a good coach and they got the big kid without being at all specific.
I tried really hard not to look at any analysis on TV or online today, and I did a pretty good job.
I mean, I just had to learn about some of these teams.
I don't want to. I mean, if I watched ESPN all day, I would have just like basically ended up repeating whatever like Jay Williams said a million times, and it would not be that shocking.
Oh yeah, ESPN. I love the ESPN bracket show when they get to the final 8, and it's everyone has the 1 and the 2 seed, and maybe someone slipped a 3 in there. I
can tell you right now, I haven't watched any. I guarantee I know what Jay Billis's Final Four is. I guarantee. I haven't looked at it all. I would say not guarantee, but like 90% chance I can guess his Final Four.
I could have the same Final Four as Jay Billis, honestly, because I haven't watched that much.
Is it 2 1s and 2 2s?
No.
I would for him. Oh, okay.
No, it is not. But I think if the one that I have getting upset by a 4, I think we'd have the same Final Four.
Okay. Well,
your projected Jay Billis Final Four. All right, so number 7 is the Iowa Hawkeyes. The state is represented multiple times on this list. They are pretty white. Their best player's name is Jared.
But their second best player, Peter Jock, is like awesome, and which is why he's
very much black.
Yeah, but their best guy was
actually Peter Jock might be their best player.
He actually probably
the way he's playing at this point of their season.
Yeah.
Like he might be their most important player.
The other dude, what's the other dude's name? Jared Utoff.
Yeah,
the guy who fled from Wisconsin because I think like he was too black for Bo Ryan, even though he's a country white boy.
He got fucked on that deal. He never got his year of eligibility back.
Well, I mean, we've learned Bo Ryan's a scumbag here, so.
Yeah, was that a good day for you when you found out about Bo's little extra?
Well, first off, I've always known Bo Ryan was a scumbag, but now it's just like common knowledge. He just looks like a scumbag.
He looks like a basketball coach, which wasn't the same, right?
Yeah.
Number 6, they're probably have like a 50-50 racial makeup, but their best players are all black, and their rotation is mostly black guys. But Virginia plays the whitest. They're the slowest team in the tournament.
Oh, they play Wisconsin basketball.
They play with, but they're better at it. They're super efficient.
They're like a better version of Wisconsin from 5 years ago. Because I'm saying they're not as good as Wisconsin from the last 2 years.
Okay, all right, yeah, I'll agree with that.
They're not as offensive. They're not as good offensively as those Wisconsin teams.
Oh, and I have them losing in the second round because I took them to win it the last 2 years, and I said, "Fuck you." Now they probably will win it. Well, yeah, I mean, we talked about this last year. The problem for them is they have 61 possessions per game.
Yeah, if you only score like 63 points, even a bad team can keep up with you.
Yeah. I mean, they do guard threes pretty well.
Yeah. Can they shoot threes? I watch that team play, and it doesn't look like they can shoot.
They're always deceptively more athletic than you think they are.
Yeah. Because they play slow. Doesn't mean you're not.
That's athletic. A Virginia trait there.
Yeah.
Number 5, obviously the Ivy needs to be represented.
Yale.
Yeah. A school broiled in some un-Ivy-like controversy. But Yale, put Yale on there.
Okay. Who's your number 4?
Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is a pretty diverse. I don't know what he did with a lot of the white guys. There's still
like 9 white guys and like 5 black guys.
Yeah, but he plays the new coach, not as racist as Bo, is playing the black dudes.
Yeah. It's still a pretty white looking team.
But yeah, the new. I'm terrified of future Wisconsin with a guy who's not racist being their coach. Who's your number 3?
Northern Iowa. Super white and a low scoring team in the tournament. Oh no, that's another team that they might be the slowest team in the tournament. My notes aren't clear. Something about them is white. Although their best player in typical white team fashion.
Yeah, you gotta have the one guy.
West something. Him. See, this is the research. Number 2 for me, and this team is actually more black than white, but everything about this university and the try hard way they got in the tournament and their coach and the offense they run. I put Holy Cross number 2 whitest team.
In my head, it's just a bunch of Bill Simmons running around the court.
Yeah, well, he contributes to the whiteness.
Yeah, exactly. And your number 1?
Duke.
Always Duke, no matter who's on their team.
I mean, they have the most talented, most athletic player in the whole fucking thing, and it doesn't matter to me. Ingram is, I think, after the way Ben Simmons, that popcorn fart of a second half he put together, Ingram has a great shot to be the number 1 pick. Yeah. And it doesn't matter. They're a Plumlee, they're a white guard. They're actually 2 white guards.
I mean, Grayson Allen, you can't even invent a whiter name than that.
No. He should have been a lacrosse player, right?
He looks like at Duke too, probably. He looks like a young Ted Cruz.
Oh God.
You can look that up. There's split screen photos of them.
Oh, I'm sure that's like a big North Carolina. Well, in North Carolina, they probably take that as a compliment.
Oh God, probably.
So I went with Duke as my number 1.
They should just always be. It should always be like Duke, an Ivy League, Wisconsin. Those are the type of teams.
But Duke changed it up a little because Duke just used to be so white, and then they were like, we are never going to win anything.
No, now what Duke does is they get a base of white guys and then one and dones.
Yeah. The meat and potatoes are the white guys, or the salads, the sides of the whites.
Yeah.
And then the big hunk and then they get like that actually delivers.
Yeah,
are the one and dones.
Like Brandon Ingram, who's awesome.
Yeah, he's really good.
All right, I'll get into my list. My lists are. I'm going with I guess betting bracket picking strategies, and the reason they're bad in a first of the worst fashion is because really no matter what you do, you're probably going to lose.
Yeah, I mean, Reese. Here's the thing. Just looking at it logically, the sample size of a 1-game elimination is not enough to really allow the statistics and analysis to prevail.
Oh yeah,
as much as everyone hopes they should.
Like best of 5 series or something would be crazy and wouldn't be as fun to watch. Might actually parts of it. The finals would be awesome, but stuff. But the beginning wouldn't be as fun. There'd be way less upsets. All right, let's get it started. And I'm fairly confident somebody's probably won an NCAA tournament with all of these strategies, no matter how dumb they are. My number 10 is just flipping a coin for each game. And I know people who've done that. Though they did the people I know who did that did cheat and said it advanced all the 1 and 2 seeds in the first round. And then just flipped a coin for every single game after that. You can end up with some weird games there.
Logic would dictate that
you're gonna get some bad teams that way. That's
logic would dictate that you should definitely take the 1 seeds because that still has never happened.
Yeah. And only like a few 2s have lost ever. Sorry.
Oh no, it's come around. Well, no, we lost 2 2s lost that year that Mizzou lost.
Yeah. So
Duke lost.
Oh,
Duke has lost
right.
several times as a 2.
My number 9 strategy is just copying some expert's pick, because even if you do well, then like you don't have anything to brag about except for that you won money, which is good. My number 8 is picking like your mom who never watches college basketball, which is like picking a school because her friend went there, or like liking the colors, or like she saw on TV that they have a handsome coach.
My mom never picked like that. She called me and had me pick it for her.
That's what my mom does too. But I was just using a generic like mom. My mom 100% does that too. Actually, that's probably what most like.
She's won because I usually give her my B team bracket, and that always is better.
Maybe you should use your own B team bracket.
Well, this year this year we're starting a B team bracket, so.
Then my number 7 is just like forcing like those stupid NCAA like tournament trends that all people say, like you can't have 4 1s in the Final Four, or 12 has to beat a 5 in the Final Four, and all that stuff. Sure, that stuff's true all the time, but if that's the only reason you're picking them, it's not the best reason. My number 6 one is chalk. Just picking the higher seeds, which actually is probably a terrible way to do it, though every once in a while it could probably pan off in the long run.
And by the way, for points purposes, you should take all the 5s over the 12s, because statistically the 5s beat the 12s most times.
Yeah, unless you're getting some bonuses for upsets.
People are going to guess, and if they guess wrong, you're picking up.
And a lot of them are just guessing, right? Like most people they're not like don't know a lot, so they're just guessing.
I know nothing about Little Rock. He's playing Purdue.
I don't nothing. And then my number 5 one. Now this is where I'm getting into strategies I like a little more. My number 5 one would just be just like riding like the power teams and the blue bloods and like moving them far every year, and like not worrying necessarily about how good they actually did in the season, because they just have really good players.
That people who didn't really pay attention to the season but know about sports did, as you'll see with my Final Four.
Yeah, no, it's a move, and those people sometimes win because they pick a team with like a 4 seed or a 5 seed because it's like, I don't know, North Carolina, which is not the case this year, but that team has good recruits.
Kentucky would be a prime example of that team this year.
Exactly. And then number 4 is in honor of a person we both used to work with who's won multiple tournaments.
Honestly, this to me is the number 1.
This is actually a great move, and I think more people should use it. It actually should be maybe the number 1. So we worked with this person, this woman named Amy Wallace, and she says every single year, no matter what, she picks UConn to win the national championship,
which they've done 4 times in the last 15 years,
and like from weird places in the tournament most of the time.
So she's probably won at least 4 times.
Now, I think you could use this move with other teams besides UConn.
Yeah, but UConn is the best team to hitch your wagon to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
you might want to do it this year. You might want to do it this year. I don't know.
They just hit a 3-quarter court shot.
Yeah.
To send a game to quadruple overtime.
You gotta kill UConn a million times before they die in March. You have to see them dead on the ground with the clock stopped before you.
Yeah, I mean, this is some like Game of Thrones shit. You need to see the head rolling.
You need to see the head rolling.
You don't know if Lady Stoneheart's coming back or not.
Yeah, we need to see the head rolling. We need to see all that. We need to see. And like I heard somebody say this once, and it was the perfect thing. This is the perfect year to pick UConn. There's not like a bunch of dominant teams, and they're the quintessential. They win their championships by looking at a table and there's one slice of pizza left and nobody wants to grab it, and they'll be like, you know what? I'll have that slice of pizza, and that's how they win their championships.
I love that analogy.
I don't know who said that. Credit to somebody on Twitter.
I also think that I was looking at their roster today. They're super talented.
Yep.
So like if you were like looking at them and you're like, okay, so the second round UConn would play Kansas. I was talking to a KU buddy. He's like, oh, this is horrible.
It's terrible.
Terrified of this.
It's terrible.
He's like, we're screwed inside because they have a 7-foot African dude, because they always do.
They have some guy who just started playing point guard for them who's like good, like out of like the last month and a half.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it just, I don't know. I kind of want to do it on a bracket and just see what happens. Number 3 is tons of research and stats and just digging in deep. And it's not number 1 because you're most likely just wasting a shit ton of time.
I've done that the last many years.
I've done that too much lately, and I haven't won anything since I've been doing that. Number 2 is game theory, which is just figuring out what teams you think have a chance to win and go to the Final Four, but are probably going to be less likely to be picked. So if they do go, then you'll most likely do really well in your bracket, no matter what the rest of your picks look like.
Things like that. It's like taking all the 5s because
and stuff like that.
You can also points or picking against certain teams, as you always point out.
Yeah, and that could work also. Like if you're the type of person who submits multiple brackets into one pool, you could kind of like hedge that way.
Bag if you do that kind of.
I'm in a pool where like you're required to. Like so many people did it. They were just like, everybody gets 2 brackets. You pay this much, everybody gets 2. You can't have more than that. That was
okay.
It was to curb that.
Hedge. You can hedge in another pool. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And number 1, I think at this point, just pick with your gut, man. If you watch basketball, just pick with your gut. It's like Malcolm Gladwell. It
doesn't work for being president, but it works for picking a bracket.
It's like Malcolm Gladwell. It's the whole blink thing. Whatever the first thing that pops into your mind, that's the best option.
And that is why you will end up, if you do that, you might end up with like a Kentucky winning it.
Yeah.
Because like 9 months ago, someone's like, Kentucky's going to win the championship. You're like, okay, that sounds entirely reasonable. And the whole season unfolded, and it sounds much less reasonable now. But like, still in the back of your brain, you're like, well.
But it also sounds more reasonable now than it would have like 2 months ago. Like they've gotten better.
Well, like the last train wreck team they had almost won it.
Yeah.
This team's way less of a train wreck than that.
Yeah. They can figure it out for 6 games or whatever.
Jamal Murray
super talented.
Very good.
They have 2 awesome point guards. And one of them 6'6" and one of them is 5'9".
And going pro.
Wait, Ulis is gonna go pro, the small one?
That's what Calipari said after the SEC tournament.
I mean, I like it. That's a ballsy move for a guy that's short. I don't know when he'll get picked, but I think he's a really good point guard.
I bet he gets picked in the first round.
Yeah, probably late. All right, let's get into this.
All right, Q&A. Now here, Truth in Advertising. I don't actually know all the questions. I know most of them.
You know some of them. You don't know all of them. But some of them are pretty easy. So I'm going to start it up. I'll ask you the question first, and then I'll answer it. If you want me to answer first because you need a second to figure it out, if you don't know, I can surely do that. So the first question of our 10 questions. Let's just do, this is a little truth in advertising. Question 10. What are the teams, better teams we'll say, in the tournament that you just don't know shit about?
Oregon. Definitely Oregon.
Okay, I know a little bit about that. I was going to say Miami. Didn't they win the ACC?
Miami. They got Sheldon McClellan.
I don't know nothing about that team. And Xavier is a 2 seed, and I know nothing about that team. I know they don't have the big dopey white guy.
Well, they basically have the black version of that guy.
Oh, do they? That's awesome.
I mean, obviously, it's way smoother and more athletic, but he's like a 5th-year senior who's like humongous. It was Stainbrook last year.
Yeah, Stainbrook. Oh, that guy was great.
He might have highlighted my tournament. I definitely saw him play in a summer league game and got psyched.
I'm sure he's in Europe or the D League or something. I mean, that guy's
a lot more guys are actually going to the D.
Yeah, for sure. Let me see if there was any other ones I flagged really quick that I didn't. Yeah, Miami and Xavier of like the higher ranked teams.
Okay, I mean, just generally, let's be real about what the Big East is. It's not really a major. It's not anymore. It's like what the A10 used to be. It's
a lot of the teams from the old A10, right?
It's it's like the better teams for the A10, except St. Joe State for some reason. But it's not that good a conference. And,
like the AAC might even be a little better. I don't like. They're like
the AAC has more titles.
They sure do. They have multiple, don't they?
Yeah. They have more than the Big Ten actually in the last 20 years. And they've been around for 4.
I was gonna say they have. I think they have half of the last 4 titles. Right, Louisville, right?
Yeah, Louisville left, but they keep the title, right? I mean, I would say that. That seems fair.
Yeah, I think they were in the AAC. Were they in the AAC when they won? Yeah, that counts. That counts for the conference. Big Ten can't claim that old Maryland title.
No.
All right. Yeah. So what did you have any other teams that you said Oregon?
Oregon unequivocally. Like I know that they have some good players. And obviously they're 1 seed.
Okay. My number 9 question then is we'll talk about Oregon actually, since I actually do know a little bit about them. They're really good. Though I was really excited to pick them to go to the Final Four as like a 3 seed.
I don't see how Michigan State didn't get a 1 seed.
No, it's crazy. I totally agree with that. It's crazy that they didn't get a 1 seed. Oregon shouldn't be a 1 seed. Oregon's a good team, but they shouldn't be a 1 seed.
Michigan State every year plays just about the hardest schedule in the country.
Yeah, it's dumb.
And they ran through arguably the best conference in the country. Although I think the Big Ten has some kind of empty teams, but I don't know. I mean, it doesn't. I guess getting in Virginia's bracket, since we know they lose in the second round, it's probably better.
That bracket's actually pretty soft outside of those 2 teams.
I like Purdue a lot.
Purdue is good. I think Purdue could beat Virginia.
Yeah.
I think, but for Oregon, I don't know if you know the stats or whatever, but they've played the second hardest schedule. They have the second highest RPI. Dylan Brooks is awesome. It's basically the same team that's almost beat Wisconsin the last 2 years in the NCAA tournament, but just older.
I mean, I don't want to lean back on the coaching thing, but generally, data all of it is very well thought of.
Yeah. Hey, no, but coaching coaching matters in the NCAA tournament.
It does, although like Scott Drew, like Baylor is the same team every year, right?
Oh, they're the same, and I did the terrible move. I did the terrible move of watching them play a game where they killed somebody, and like you can't if you see Baylor play a good game, you're just gonna think they're like the best team ever.
Well, yeah, Dan Bernstein once called it Attack of the Flying Black Men, and I have always loved that. But yeah. They always have like a Quincy AC type, like someone who's super strong inside. And then they have like at least one extremely athletic wing.
Yeah, luckily they've been they've played Illinois a lot recently and the last few years before this, and I've been like, oh, they suck, actually. But now this year I just saw them like play one game where they like beat Iowa State and they were awesome, and my mind's all screwed up about them.
Yeah, I mean, I brought them up because I generally don't consider Scott Drew to be that good a coach.
Yeah, though I want his brother. Is that his brother? Is Bryce his brother?
Yeah,
or are they cousins or something? I want his brother to be Illinois' coach, but that's a whole other story.
Dude, you could. I mean, I know I just kind of shit on him, but I mean, you could maybe get him.
Yeah,
I don't understand how he keeps, like how he stays there.
That's true. Okay, here's the next question. Let's say you weren't filling out a bracket like an idiot. What team, like, what would you want to have? Like, who would you be rooting for? Because, like, this is a question I asked you because me and you, both of our teams are dog shit. So they're not in the NCAA tournament. So who would you be rooting for if it, like, doesn't, like, let's say you're just brackets done after day 1 or day 2 or whatever. Like, who would you be rooting for?
Well,
outside of, like, some story you don't know that's going to develop.
I mean, there's going to be a few for me here. I've watched OU this year, and I really do enjoy them.
Okay.
I don't think that they play. I don't know. I don't think that they play the kind of basketball that wins the tournament because they're just too jump shooty.
They play the kind of basketball you really like in an underdog team that's gonna like knock off a couple big teams, but then eventually lose.
Yeah, although like they're their big men inside are okay defensively. That Spangler kid got hurt, and he's been playing like shit the second half of the year. I like OU because I still I watched so much Big 12 this year because I was generally home more on Mondays and Tuesdays when they play.
Okay.
So I could be into that. I like Bob Huggins, even though he's well documented.
I told you, that's on my list of the teams I'm rooting for. They're pressed now too. Have you seen them?
Yeah,
it's like press Virginia. Press Virginia.
They lead the country in extra scoring opportunities per game.
Yeah,
points off turnovers and things like I don't forget the exact way that works. I mean, they're a punch you in the face team, and I always love those like teams with like the tough East Coast kids.
Yeah, like Westford
fast.
Huggins is like a scumbag, whatever, but he wears like jumpsuits on the sidelines, and
He's giving up. He can't even sit in a chair. They put a stool on the sideline so he doesn't have to get that low.
It's great. So like West Virginia, he's just continuing his old Cincinnati traditions and just having those teams that are just like super athletic and kick your ass. And I always think those teams are fun to watch.
So that would be another one. And then I guess for my brother, IU, even though I don't really like IU.
Yeah. I want to see, part of me kind of wants to see UConn win. Again.
Oh yeah. And then UConn, definitely. I would be in on UConn winning. Also, that would involve Kansas losing.
Yeah. So you would love that. And I also I would like to see Oregon do good since basically everybody's saying they're garbage. Though I also agree that they don't deserve that 1 seed, but I've thought they were good for like the last couple months. And I always have this thing where I like kind of like highlight a couple teams in my mind that I want to pick, and I kind of want those teams to tank their conference tournaments so they get worse seeds, and then I could pick them and look like a genius. But then like North Carolina and Oregon won their conference tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at I don't really see that team here this year. Like Maryland seems like kind of a straw man. That might be that team, kind of.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Or like IU.
Yeah. Except they don't play defense. Though they have I don't think they play good defense. Maybe the stats tell me otherwise. I don't know. So who is actually, I should verify that since people might actually be listening to this, and I could do that really easily. Indiana is they're not great at defense. They're not like Duke bad, because Duke's defense is terrible. But
yeah, Duke will.
Of the higher tier teams, Duke and Iowa State have horrible defenses.
Yeah, Iowa State. I don't know why they were such a disaster this year. I mean, they're a high seed, so disaster is a strong verbiage. But
yeah, but Indiana's not as bad as them defensively, but they're not by any means a great defensively. They rank 66th in the country as defense. Okay, number 8. What are you picking? It's a thing I hate when people ask me this, and I'm going to ask it to both of us. Who's your 12-5 upset?
Well, I kind of went out on a limb and said not to do one.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. The 5 seeds seem kind of good.
Well, if I had to pick, I'd go with Yale over Baylor. The Ivy League's tournament would be...
Yale could matches up with Baylor, right?
Yes, the Ivy League is wins in the tournament 50% of the time in the last 10 years. The Ivy League's tournament winning percentage is very high.
You are right. It is pretty good, actually, for a conference of that level. That is true.
I mean, I just can't in good conscience pick any of these other teams that I don't. I mean, Little Rock. If you told I would not have known that was a Division 1A team, and they're one of the best mid majors. If they're 12, 12,
yeah, they were seated right up there with the automatic with the at-large qualifiers.
Yeah,
yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, there's Indiana. You got a team that won its conference. You get the team that won the Big Ten, Indiana. You have Purdue.
You could see Indiana choking.
Oh, that's the team I would most likely pick against. Maryland though has kind of looked like crap lately.
I think that those two teams.
It's 3 Big Ten teams. It's Indiana, Maryland, and Purdue, and then Baylor.
All those teams, and now I'm just going historically with Baylor.
Yeah,
could see them losing too. But I'm actually projecting all them to win.
I love it. Let's just go against the trend. We both say don't pick a 12-5 upset. Unless you're in the weird pool I'm in, which I'm sure people who are in that pool are playing it. Then you get like 7 extra points for picking a 12-5 upset, then just pick all the 12s because mathematically it's the right move. All right, number 7 question here, or the number. I guess I'm counting backwards, so this is the 4th question. Who do you think is going to be in the same? And this is like in the same vein as the last one, upsets. Who do you think the highest seed to win a game will be?
I picked Hawaii.
And they're what, like a 13?
Cal, a 13.
I love Cal. I've watched so much weird Pac-12 basketball this year.
I do know a little more about them. They're super talented, but
yeah, they have 2 awesome freshmen, but they also have like a good guard who's like a senior.
Yeah, I picked Hawaii. I mean, I don't know that much about him, but I did things like I think Wichita State will beat Miami, and I think Buffalo could beat Miami. Because I don't know anything about Miami, I guess.
You don't know anything about Miami. I'm gonna say Iona, because Iowa State lost last year in the first round, and their defense sucks, and they're playing in Denver, which somehow in my head means they could get out of gas, and Iona can beat them. And then the other one,
plus Iona's just like one of those Mid-Atlantic Conference teams. That is also a conference that's really good at the tournament. I know I'm working with a lot of generalities.
But Iona's in the tournament like fairly often.
Like Iona, Niagara, and Manhattan are like the teams out of that league that go.
And then the other one I think is a 14 seed. I had a second one here. One because I thought their matchup was good, and the other one is Stephen F. Austin. They have that walk-up guy who's like he scored like 18 points a game. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, Nate Walkup.
Yeah, Nate Walkup.
I might have made up that first name.
I don't think his name's Nate, but the problem is that I don't think we're gonna call him Nate Walkup though. But they are playing West Virginia though, so I don't really want to root for that. But I don't know if you could break that press, and you got a go-to guy. Having a go-to guy is a nice thing when you're trying to pull an upset.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Green Bay is the team to watch. Maybe the Horizon was strong this year, and they. Contrary to what their geography would lead you to believe, they're a pretty aggressive, fast team.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about them. I should have talked to my buddy Matt who went there. He gave me a full.
They did give up one of the worst last-second baskets I've ever seen, and then won in overtime. Maybe the worst.
Was it worse than that UConn basket?
Yes, because that was a 3/4 court shot. Like that's like you're not really supposed to do a lot. Theirs was the opposite. They let a guy run the whole length of the court and get under the basket for a layup. That's exactly what you're supposed. That's what the number one priority is, stopping that play.
Was it like the Tyus Edney play?
Well, you know what? That doesn't really hurt me because I wasn't at Mizzou then.
Oh,
that's what you were going for.
I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't even realize that was a Mizzou dig.
Oh,
that's like the play in my mind when you say a guy driving down the court and like getting a layup, basically.
Well, that's worse. The Tyus Edney play is probably slightly worse, actually.
That
wasn't even a pass.
I did not mean to pick that scab, actually. I wish I did mean to pick it because I would have.
Well, it's not. The thing is, it predates me, and I didn't.
So it doesn't count. Okay.
It's just, I mean, like retrospectively, I should have looked at that and everything else and been like, "Fuck this place."
So let's go to my next question. This is the fifth question. So I arbitrarily picked a number. What do you think? What team, whether you have this picked or not in your bracket, it doesn't have to be. What teams are the most likely of like seeded 9 or higher to at least make a run into like the Elite 8?
Wichita State, right?
Oh, I hate Wichita State. I've always hated Wichita State.
Well, this year they have been the good team that never put it together, and I always pick against that team. But I mean, they have 2 really good senior guards.
I mean, UConn's a 9 seed.
Okay, so UConn and Wichita State, like you could easily see UConn versus Wichita State to go to.
To go to crazy. And the other one I picked was, and it was more because of like where they are in the bracket and me not liking the teams that were around them. And that one is Temple. And I think, did Temple win their conference? They won their conference, not their tournament.
Yeah, they destroyed. Oh no, St. Joe's won that conference.
Did they? But here's the thing with Temple. I don't trust Iowa. Like Iowa has 2 good players in like a D3 team.
They're shitty on defense.
Yeah. And then I don't trust Villanova at all. And like once you get at that point, if you get that far, you're in decent shape. And then you get to the weird, if they had to play somebody from like the Wichita State, Arizona, who's like the fourth best team from the Pac-12, and then Miami, who literally I know nothing about, so I'm holding that against them. So that's deep analysis right there. Next question, number 6. Top 2 seeds only. Which of the top 2 seeds do you think is least likely to make it to the second weekend?
Virginia.
Virginia. I said Villanova, but I was also in there with Virginia. But who do you think is like? Are you scared of like Texas Tech and Butler?
No, but I mean,
so you're just picking against the team like I am with Villanova.
I was just picking against Virginia because they've kind of fucked me. Very logical way to pick.
Villanova's just like, I don't know. I know that team never does well.
Dude, I'll tell you what. Dayton is one of the best defensive teams in the country. They're playing Michigan State potentially in the second round. And they're physical. I mean, that's not. We're going to get to who. I mean, I didn't pick Dayton.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be that stoked for that game if I were a Michigan State fan.
Okay, you don't have to. Did you pick a team besides Virginia or Michigan State to win that bracket?
No.
Okay, I think nobody is doing that. So let's just talk about that now. If you had to pick a team to win that bracket that wasn't one of those 2 teams, who would it be?
So I actually really like Seton Hall, but that seems a little aggressive. So I'd probably go with Purdue.
Purdue. What do you know about?
I really like Purdue, actually. Purdue is kind of the team that I had like you were talking to the team that you secretly were like rooting for to fail so that you could. That would kind of be where I fell with Purdue. I was just rooting for them to get like a good draw, but then them playing Michigan State, I don't know.
Well, they wouldn't have to play Michigan State until the Elite 8, though.
Oh yeah, well,
yeah, but I mean, so you get a hope. So, but Utah's in there. If Utah played Michigan, Purdue, it'd be so many big dudes.
It would be like old NBA basketball.
George Mikan. I agree, though. I kind of think Purdue would be, if you want to kind of go a different direction in that bracket than most people are going to be going.
I mean, who has like 3 really good offensive big guys? Like one of the biggest bugaboos in college basketball is teams get their best post players get in foul trouble.
And that team has
so much harder to do against Purdue.
And that team has like 3 real ass big guys. Like other teams' big guys sometimes are like 6'8" and 6'9". Like they have like 3 giant men.
They have 3 NBA centers. I don't think anything will be good.
But you're right. But they're like guys who will be on the end of an NBA roster.
That is like pretty good in college.
It would have been like starting NBA centers in like the early 80s or something when you just had to be a giant dude to be a center. Yeah. They're just born in the wrong decades. Okay, so this is another question here. So I guess you could go 2 ways with this one. I would say breakout player. It could also be breakout NBA prospect, but unless you have a guy who is just like from some weird small school that might become like kind of a household name during the tournament who won't be an NBA prospect, you can throw him in there too. I
wrote down the guy's name from Stony Brook last Saturday, but I don't have that paper in front of me. He had 40 points because I was watching this game because they played it Saturday. It's at 10:30 a.m. because there's so much basketball on. And he's like a 6'7" horse who is just beating the shit out of everyone. And he's like a 20 and 12 2 blocks guy. He's the kind of guy that I would love to take in the second round of an NBA draft.
Yeah, just because he has like the right like body and like and that kind of
and
stuff.
You never know.
Yeah, he's like.
Although they did say he hadn't taken a three-point shot all season, which in the new NBA at 6'8".
Well, then I'm guessing his name is Jamil Warney.
That sounds right.
Averages 20 points a game and 10 rebounds and is 0 for 0 on this. It is in his college basketball career from the 3-point line.
In his career, hey, but you gotta like a guy who knows his limitations.
He does.
But I think Jamal Murray. I don't know that. I mean, he's pretty on the radar, but
yeah.
Him playing his way into like the discussion for the number 1 pick. I don't think he would be.
But you can see him getting up top 3.
Top 3. There's a Euro up there right now, and now
yeah, but you could see him jumping up there.
Well, with the Zinger
Canadian,
playing
right?
as well as he did.
He's a Canadian, I think.
Is he?
Yeah, he is. Well, I know that because Illinois had some like crazy ideas that they were going to get him to come to Illinois, which is hilarious. So I have a few. Mine are mostly guys who I think maybe could. Two of them are guys who I think could maybe play themselves into like a late first round pick. One of them is my guy Dylan Brooks from Oregon, who I think could maybe put himself in like a, though it won't be get him as high of a pick, but like a Derek Williams-esque performance in the tournament. He's like that type of player.
Yeah.
And then, but I don't know, he won't get up to like, Derek Williams is like what, a top 3 pick or something, right? But he won't get up that high, but he could play himself into like the first round doing that. The guy from UConn, Daniel Hamilton.
Oh, I love him
because he's like a lengthy guy who's like a shooting guard who could like shoot three, like be able to shoot threes, like NBA play, like that's what NBA teams want. So if he has like a good tournament, that'll be huge.
He's a 3-and-D guy for sure.
Yeah, and I don't even think he's projected in the first round. So
his brother went to the NBA out of Texas.
Yeah,
he's still in the NBA.
He is. Well, Jordan Hamilton.
Yeah,
he's still in the NBA. I don't know if he plays much. And then the third one is which from another Pac-12 team I love is from Cal and Ivan Rabb.
Oh, he's legit.
He could be like a Chris Bosh, and like if he has a big tournament, I think he's like a fringe lottery pick at this point maybe, but I could see him like going up if he has like.
Yeah, but when you're that big, because he's 6'10", and you don't have to check on that height, but he's 6'10", and when your offense is skilled,
yeah.
Teams are into that.
Yeah, so he puts together some games. He could also skyrocket up even without putting together games and just like killing people in like the workouts. All right, let's get into some bigger questions here. Who are your final 4, Brendan?
Okay, so I think that this would have been Billis's if I had taken North Carolina out of the East. Instead, I took Kentucky. And I really wanted to take West Virginia, but then I would have had 3 Big 12 teams.
While you do this, I'm going to Google Jay Billis' Final 4.
Kentucky, Michigan State, Oklahoma, and Kansas. And I also didn't really like Oregon without any real logic to it, but their pod is so shitty that their hardest matchup to me feels like Cincinnati or St. Joe's, because those are like tough-minded teams. But I think that they would destroy a Duke or a Baylor.
Yeah, I think Duke is junk this year. So for anybody listening. So my Final 4, before I get too sidetracked, I also picked Kentucky, Kansas, and then at Oregon and Michigan State. I had Oregon locked in.
Dude, we have like the same Final 4 almost, huh?
Yeah, you have Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Kentucky, I had Oregon locked in. And I'm sad that they're a 1 seed, so they'll probably get more people picking them because they're a 1 seed. But I still think I'm betting more people pick Oklahoma to win that bracket than Oregon.
That's a shitty bracket.
I'm guessing, though.
I wish Purdue was the 4 over there.
Yeah. Yeah, they should be. So I'm trying. Oh, I was wrong about the Bills' Final 4. He picked Texas A&M.
A lot of people are taking them out of that bracket too.
He picked I didn't just cheat and look that up beforehand. He picked Texas A&M to go to the Final 4, and then he picked Kansas, North Carolina, Michigan State. I know nothing. You know what? Add that to my list of teams I know nothing about. But you might know something from the SEC. No.
Who? Texas A&M. They're kind of the same team they always are. They have like some under-recruited 6'9" guy who's really good.
Okay.
And they're just gigantic.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. So when I pick,
but they can shoot the shit out of the ball. I should point that out.
That's a big deal then. If they have the gigantic, if you can shoot the shit out of the ball and have gigantic guys, it's a pretty good combo.
They have a couple that do both. They have like one like white 6'9" guy.
Okay.
Who's coach's kid.
Should have been at Wisconsin
or Duke.
All right. So what's your championship game?
I got. Are we saying our winner?
Yeah, I'd say winner over. I
got Michigan State over KU.
Oh, I have the reverse. You just can't.
Yeah.
You just can't pick KU, can you?
No, if I honestly think they're the winner, I take them a lot
Yeah.
because it's hedging against your happiness, right?
Yeah. It's the emotional hedge.
I also watch more Kansas basketball than anyone else except Mizzou. Like I see them all the
So
time.
you actually know a lot
Kansas
more
on.
about
I'm
it.
like probably watching it.
Yeah. Those are both teams like just like you have a lot of like experienced guys for teams that have like get good recruits and stuff. It's not like the Kentuckys and Dukes of the last couple of years. These guys have some like seniors and juniors and stuff like that.
Yeah, they
that's how
recruit
they
guys
do
who
it.
are
Though.
going to be
That's how they
4-year
do
players.
it. Though. Yeah, like that's how they do it, though, right? Like in general, those. Teams.
Self will sprinkle in some freshmen who are going to go. I mean, this year he had that Check Diallo.
Carlton Bragg was supposed to be one of those guys too. Then he just doesn't play.
Yeah, I mean, Bragg plays more than Diallo, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Diallo is like a super recruit, right?
Yeah, he's been a huge bust.
All right, so my final question, you'd think champion would be the last question, but I have one more. Of all these picks you've made or didn't make, which one are you just know you're going to regret? Mine is probably not picking North Carolina.
No, they've been kind of hot and cold all year, you know.
I've texted you this before. I've gone back and forth on them like all the time. Sometimes I look at them and I think that's the best team. And then another, which is probably why you shouldn't pick them to win the championship if they're not consistent.
They're like not as athletic. This is kind of a North Carolina thing. They're not as athletic as people think they are.
I think
they're skilled, but not necessarily athletic. Like Bryce Johnson could get pushed around a little bit.
It's his Roy Williams, North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Like Roy Williams, North Carolina is much more in the Kansas mold.
Yeah.
Of like
to me, Michigan State is, if I'm ranked, I mean, obviously I picked them, but they make the most sense as the champion. I can't believe they're not a number one seed. They were pretty much the best team all year long.
Yeah. And this is just terrible.
They have probably the best college basketball player.
Denzel Valentine's the best college basketball player. Is that the best basketball player, I guess? I don't know how to say that, but.
And the kid Forbes is like
the
kind of kid who could definitely just win you a game.
Yeah.
Like have an irrationally great shooting game and, Jerry McNamara some shit.
Yeah. Freshman
year McNamara, not when he was actually like an All-American caliber player.
So we went pretty chalky on our championship game picks. Let's say you wanted to game theory it a little. Who are like a team you'd throw in as a champion that you think has a legit chance?
Man. West Virginia.
That you think it has a legit chance, but like isn't gonna have like if you pick them and they win the championship, they actually have a chance, but you're pretty much in great shape for your bracket if they win it then.
Yeah.
West Virginia.
I'm going to say something ridiculous, but people are so down on Duke.
Oh yeah, I think they suck. But you're right. If you pick,
like their bracket is not good.
The problem is with that, like, and I agree with you. There's still going to be like if you're in like a big pool,
there's still going to be people who take Duke
because they're Duke, right? Like West Virginia is not going to get that, right? You're not going to have like the people. There's not going to be just like, to borrow John Oliver's person. Janice from accounting isn't picking West Virginia to win the title, but
no, I actually would also
pick Duke.
I would throw Virginia in there because they're the metric darling.
Yeah, they are like
no one will take them. But like every game,
it's hard though. When you're a 1 seed, somebody's going to take you, right?
You think even Virginia?
You don't, but I mean, do you think more people are going to pick Virginia or Oregon? Like, I think Oregon is actually a sneaky.
Oh, and then I mean, we talked about it, but
I kind of love Cal. You hate Cal, but I kind of love Cal too. That's a weird one.
I hate Cal. It's like I'm like total ignoramus.
East Coast bias. You don't even know how many teams are in the conference.
You said the Pac-11 the other day, or the Big 11, and I had no idea who you were talking about. I was like, is he talking about the Big 10? Is he talking about the Big 12? Is he talking about the Pac-10? The Big 8? Yeah.
We need to ditch the numbers. Can we just ditch the numbers? No, I know the Big 12 and the Big 10 will have to fight over some titles.
The Big 12 is like 20 years old. It could go away any day. The name. I mean, I love the conference, but the name doesn't mean shit.
You're totally right. It doesn't mean anything. It was like because it was the Big 8 before that, and then wasn't it something?
Big 8 and the Southwest Conference merged.
Yeah, at least the Big 10 has had that name forever, which I understand why they're keeping it. I don't know why why didn't the Big? Oh, is it because I know why because they couldn't switch it to the Big 10. Is that why that happened? Right.
I mean, I'm sure that was part of it. Plus, they probably still want to add 2 teams.
Yeah.
In a world where things were going their way, which they aren't right now, but
except for how good their basketball teams are.
Yeah, they had a great year for basketball. They kind of always do.
Yeah, they're always a pretty good conference. They're really good this year, though. They might be the best conference.
Yeah, and I mean, Shaka Smart worked out pretty well at Texas. Wait till he gets a year or two getting his guys in there. That's
another team. Because they got if that Ridley dude, their center.
But I read today that he can only play like 15 minutes.
Okay, so it's not really helping that much. There is a potential for a Texas VCU game in to go to the Elite Eight or something.
It also could be Texas Oklahoma, which is like.
There's an Indiana. There's like a very good chance of Indiana Kentucky.
Yeah, which would be great.
That's like they totally just do that on purpose. They claim they don't. But they did that on purpose. People know it. So Indiana, Kentucky, they don't. When did they stop playing?
2 or 3 years. It's not been very long at all.
It's not been that long.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they do it. I mean, it's a for-profit entity, so.
But yeah, or you just pick UConn to win the title, and then when they win, you win all the money. Like I said, it's that last. There's no dominant team this year. That last slice of pizza just sitting on the table. They're gonna be the ones that are just gonna pick it up and grab it when everybody's like, "Oh, you can have it, you can have it." I'll have it.
I wonder if Kevin Ollie goes to the NBA after this year.
If they win the title.
Yeah, well, if they win the title, he'll go coach LeBron in LA.
Why wouldn't he just stay in college and be the greatest college basketball coach ever, who has 2 titles in his first 3 years or something?
That is some Dean Smith on steroids type shit. Without a single McDonald's All-American.
I'm completely talking myself into UConn winning the title.
I mean, yeah, you and I kind of started. The seed was planted last week in that 3/4 court shot.
We were talking about it before that, and then then that guy made 3/4 court shot. We're like, man, they're gonna win, and then they won the tournament too, right? Yeah, they won.
That night I was watching the OU game against West Virginia, and then Buddy Hield hit I don't know.
Yeah, but it didn't count, right?
It didn't count, but he double clutched and made it. I just looked at Ashley. I said, I think people are just better at this game than they used to be.
Oh yeah, people are just better at shooting.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
Old guys love to say people don't shoot anymore, but people are so much better at shooting now. It's crazy. It's so crazy that all old timers just have to make up crazy lies about how people used to play better defense.
Yeah, I mean, they have guys from all 5 positions can shoot.
Yeah, and. I know it's a college basketball podcast, and people probably don't watch. There's some people who listen to this probably don't ever watch NBA basketball, but you should just watch a random Golden State Warriors game for 20 minutes and watch Steph Curry make a 30-foot shot like he's shooting free throws. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. And I hate him and love him at the same time.
Why do you hate him?
Because he's ruined my name.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I swear to God, I go to a place now. Somebody sees the way my name's spelled, and they say Stefan now. That happened 1 out of 20 times when I was a kid. Now it's 50%. And there's no other person I could be blaming besides him.
Yeah, I mean, think of all the people that were LeBron,
No, they're LeBrons.
LeBron came around and ruined it for them. All the LeBrons.
I've had people legit ask me why I don't spell Steve with a PH.
Because that's Steph.
Yeah. Whatever.
All right.
So yes, I literally hate Steph Curry because of the way he pronounces his name. So yeah, has nothing to do with anything he's ever done himself in his life. It has more to do. I should actually just hate Del Curry for naming him that.
Yeah, he could have. What if Seth was the good one? Things would have been a lot different.
God, what if it was? Yeah, though Steve Curry doesn't sound like near as good of a basketball player. He actually sounds like the star of Hanging with Mr. Cooper, but that was Mark Curry, who's also a Golden State Warrior on that episode.
That was Mark
with
Cooper.
Mark Cooper, but wasn't.
Well, okay, so his name on the show was Mark Cooper. His real name was Mark Curry.
Yes. Yes. I think he played in a preseason game with the Warriors, and they filmed it as part of a show, like when Master P played in a preseason game with the Hornets. All right,
that happens all the time in spring training baseball. All right, yeah, we could go on about athlete cameos and all that for days. Maybe call it a night.
Yep, call it a night. I'll try to get this posted. Hopefully, you're listening to this on Tuesday before you make your picks, or Wednesday, whenever. And a good piece of advice would be just to not do what we said, or do exactly what we said.
Don't do what we said. 0% this is right.
All right. Well, thank you once again, and subscribe to us on iTunes. And if you have any friends who are into the NCAA tournament who wouldn't necessarily hear this, feel free to forward this podcast to them or share it with them on Facebook or whatever and tell them about it. And thank you very much. And we'll talk to you later.
Later, buddy.